Hello, all you beautiful, curious creatures. Thank you so much for joining me again today. We are going to be doing a lower body workout that's going to focus on building the strength and stability you need to have confidence moving through multiple planes of motion in a dynamic way. Now, we will be on the knees and shins quite a bit, so if you're working with a knee injury, please use your own discretion. However, if it's just knee sensitivity, I would recommend doubling up your mat by folding it in half, either using a towel that you can also fold multiple times or as much as you need, or a thin cushion that's not too thick that might end up actually throwing off your stability and balance. If you are working with a knee injury and you're in your post-rehab phase, I would recommend checking out my previous video on knee pain and prevention exercises. For now, we will get started with today's lower body workout. I am so excited and I will see you on the mat. Beginning in the center of your mat, we're going to sit the sit bones back onto the heels, interlacing the fingertips together and placing the hands behind the back of the head. Using the glutes to then exhale, press you up to open through the front of the hip, and then inhale to hinge, keeping a neutral spine as you hover the sit bones back above the heels. As you're exhaling to squeeze the hips up and open, continuing to feel the length of the lumbar and a safety pin connection of the glute to the hamstring so we get that lengthening through the front of the hip flexors. Inner thighs are going to stay hugging in towards one another to help maintain that parallel hip distance connection, keeping the resistance between the hand and the head to help feel the length and the activation of the spine. Doing your last one or two here, and then we're going to add on our next layer. So this time, as you press up, we're going to take the body over into a side bend, breathing into the top rib cage. And then exhale to reconnect the waistline as you feel yourself hinge back to the hover over the heels. So pressing to inhale over into the side bend, anchoring through that opposite knee, and then reconnecting, stacking the vertebra back to your vertical as you hover down. So as you go, again, keeping that gentle magnetism of the inner thigh so that, again, we aren't losing that connection through the midline of the body. And then feeling the wide spread of the elbows like you have someone helping to stretch open through the chest and the collarbones. Really breathing into the top rib cage as it opens, and then feel the reconnection as you hinge back down. So we're getting equal stretch and strength here on this one. Good. And then once again adding on, so inhaling to press back up and open through the hips. This time exhale, hollowing out through the abdominals, pulling the hip bones away from the thighs as you pull the elbows wide and around to twist through the rib cage. Then inhaling to press back up and open into the top of your stretch, and exhaling to hinge back to the hover. Inhale, we press back up, taking the breath. Exhale, hollow, wringing out the rib cage. You can think of like a washcloth effect here, really pulling wide through the elbows, so we're getting the stretch through the collarbones as well. Hinging to make your way back down, feeling the length of the neutral spine. Once again, check in with that hand-to-head connection, that you're keeping a gentle amount of resistance, but don't create any extra tension. Feeling the softening of the shoulder blades down away from the ear so that all of this strength and rotation is coming from that deep core, lower abdominals, obliques to rotate the waistline. Checking back in with the inner thigh connection. Good. Last time either side. Making sure you're breathing through it, enjoying this stretch. Nice. Taking your final exhale down, and then a little moment to shake it out. This time releasing the fingertips so you can use them in coordination with the body as we press up to then step the right foot flat as you once again hinge the sit bones above the heel, to then exhale, press up to the top, replacing that right leg with control, shifting over to step the left foot down, pressing back up and open through the hips, feeling the balance through that transition to the other side to continue to repeat. So things to think about to make this easier as you go. The supporting thigh that's there, really engaging into that glute to feel the drop of the tailbone, that gentle squeeze to open through the hip, and then keep it active even as you hinge at the hip to lower down and back. Using the reach of the arms out in front will help you to counterbalance that weight. Once you feel that you have the control in this movement, feel free to play with the tempo of speeding it up or keeping it slow. The slow is going to force you to work on the balance and the control. The speed is just going to get in a couple more reps and get the heartbeat going more. So it's up to you what you want to do, being mindful of how you're moving on the shin and avoiding the kneecap. Pausing on the heels to open the arms out to the side, shifting the shoulder over the wrist as you press through the heel to straighten the leg. Then bringing it all back into the midline as you hinge down to press up and open to the other side to hinge. Again, reaching through the hand to shift the shoulders and press the leg long. Inhale, hinge to bring the leg back in, and exhale, press to transition over to the other side. Once again, keep this going at your own pace. We want that top leg up in line with the torso, keeping the bottom rib cage and waistline supported and length through the neckline, really feeling the resistance as you press through the heel of the foot to engage into the glute and the quad to have a long engaged leg, creating length through the hips. So we're always trying to go for more length, more reach, and more space while keeping our support. So that will be a check-in with the rib cage to feel the safety pin connection through the front, preventing any extension of that low back. Good. Last one or two either side. Feel free to pause and add on if you want extra repetitions for yourself at home, or slowing it down and speeding it up as you feel necessary for yourself. Good. And then we're going to stay out in the star shape, continuing to keep the support of the upper body as you hinge the top leg to lightly tap the floor and exhale back up to the shoulder height. As the leg is lifting back up, preventing any drop through the bottom rib and waistline, keeping the bottom glute just as active to keep the hip pressed open and the length through the low back so that there's no hinging back or sitting in a chair feeling on this one. More of a side plank sensation. Good. Inhale, we'll scoop the leg back in. Once again, exhale, press up through the hip to transition through the other side, stacking the shoulder over the wrist. And once again, inhale, we'll hinge the leg down to tap. Exhale to bring it back up. If you like the tactile feedback, you can place that top hand right on the great or trochanter. So when you feel that ball moving in the hip socket, that's just going to help make sure we're getting the work into the right place rather than the hip flexor in the front. So we want it to be a little more of that lateral to posterior glute. Inhale brings the leg back in. Good. Transitioning again back to the other side. This time we're adding a single pulse with the transition to the star shape, so that now we've had the time to look at our alignment, get those repetitions in, and now we get to be more dynamic, practicing the transitions and combining it all into one smooth, fluid movement. So this is where that element of flow can start to come in its own form for yourself. Once again, continue at whatever pace is working for you. If you want to move slowly to practice the balance, or if you like to move a little more quickly to get that heart rate up once again. Softening the chest, the neckline, and the shoulders so that the breath is going deep into the base of the lungs and the rib cage. Beautiful. Last one there. Keeping the leg reaching to scoop in, this time stepping it all the way in front to a lunge, stacking the knee over ankle, feeling the connection through the abdominals to support and prevent any sinking into the hips or low back. Couple of breaths, or stay here as long as you'd like. And then pressing back, try to again control that return of the foot underneath the hip. To step the left foot down, pressing back through that star shape. We want to transition evenly on both sides, pulling back in to step it forward and through to the lunge. Stacking knee over ankle, once again supporting with the abdominals and the glute. Staying for as many breaths as you would like. And again, you can add more repetitions here, but we're just going to stretch it out once on either side. Stepping the left leg back underneath of you and reaching the arms out in front of the hip, of the shoulder. Keeping the rib to hip connection as you hinge and lean back from the knees, so you keep a straight line from the top of the head to the knee. Protecting the low back by gently bringing the tailbone under as the pubic bone scoops forwards. Keeping the relaxation through the neck and the shoulders so there's no tension up top. All of the work is going into the quads and the glutes and the oblique to keep the rib connected. Last one, holding the hinge back to nod the chin to the chest, rolling the body forward to reach through the fingertips, and pause in this shell stretch or child's pose, whatever you want to call it. Taking nice deep breaths into the back of the rib cage. Again, stay here as long as you'd like. When you're ready, pressing up through the legs, walking it out in a V, and then starting to walk the hands and the feet closer together in your own timing. Softening through the back of the legs so there's no gripping or tension as you roll or sway your way up. Really trying to let the hips feel easy and wonderful after all that work. All right, that is it for today's workout. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Please let me know down below what your favorite parts of the workout were, if you have any recommendations for future workouts or tutorials. And like always, I encourage you to now get creative with these movements that you have in your toolbox and incorporating them into your other workouts and ways to sequence them, maybe possibly into a flow if you even feel inspired. All right, I look forward to seeing you again soon. I hope you have a fabulous day, a fabulous week, and sending you lots of love.